The first one, that is vertical fragmentation. So here we created this table EMP, that is employee, with the fields employee number, employee name, address, email, and salary. Then to that table we inserted the records, 10 records using insert into query. So just to check whether the table is created, executed select star from EMP. I mean, will you write down whatever table name you have given, okay, or you will give. Then after creation of a table, what you will do, as we are doing the distributed database management system, we just want to show that local copy and remote copy, how it works. So we created the local copy of the table, that is using the default link, and then the another one which is on the remote side, you can say, but on the same machine. So here using link tag, that is create database link space, you're supposed to pass the name of the link space connect to, it's a keyword, you have to write down as it is, and then system, it is the username of your system, Oracle system. Identified by is a keyword, will come as it is, and the Oracle, that is the password. So using these credentials, using is again the keyword, we are creating the link to the database. Okay, this is one, and the second one from default database. So here we are creating two links, default link and the another one to the database, which is the default database. So create database link. Here we have specified the link name as MSC link, connect to system identified by Oracle using the database name, to which database you want to create a link. So MSC CSTP. If your Oracle system, if the credentials using this username, password, everything is correct, you will get the message database link is created. Once the link is created, what you will do? Now see, remember, now in this practical, you have to execute the same query first on default database and then on the created database. Okay, so by doing this, we are going to see that whenever the user is accessing the database or user is giving the request, it is accessing basically the local copy also and the remote copy. So, but there is no change. So the user will feel as if it is accessing the same copy. Okay, that is basically the transparency, that topic we are going to learn after this. Fine. So whatever queries we are going to execute, the same set of query, only one on default database and the another one is on the created database. Fine. So creating vertical fragments. Here we created the vertical fragments. As we know, vertical fragments means column wise. So we are going to separate out the columns. So from default database, here we created a table, create table space, name of the table space, as is a keyword, will come as it is. Okay, as, and then we are supposed to pass the query, which will select which columns you want in that particular fragment. So in the first EMP1 fragment, we want the employee number, employee name, and address. These three columns we wanted from the table employee. So create table, default table name as select e number, comma e name, comma address from EMP table. Okay. Then second, we are going to create the vertical fragments on the created database. So create table, table name, whatever you want to give as. Now in this fragment, we are going to select employee number, email, and salary. These three columns from created database link. So you are supposed to use that link in using the @ operator. But suppose on some Oracle version it is not supporting. So if the @ is not working, try out with the $sign. Okay, so first the database name or the table name comes, that is EMP, then @ and then you are supposed to pass the name of the link which you have given earlier. That is the default link one here. So using @ you can access the created database. So here we created one fragment, vertical fragment on the default database and the create database. So just to check, the table is created. Select star from EMP1. EMP1 is the name of that vertical fragments on the default database. So select star from EMP1, which contains employee number, employee name, and the address. These 3 columns. Okay, so this is selected. All the values are there for the respective columns. 10 rows selected. Same in for the created database. Just to check, it is created. The fragment, select star from employee 2. Employee 2 is the name of that fragment, that table which we had given. So yes, employee number, email, and salary. These 3 columns are there in that fragment. So 10 rows selected. That means fragmentation is done properly. Now after doing the fragmentation, here are some of the queries which you are supposed to try out on those 2 copies, on those 2 fragments, you can say. So first one is the find salary of an employee where employee number is known. So we have find out the salary of an employee from the employee number. From first, as I said, you have to execute on both databases, for default also and the created. So first we will see the default database. So from default database, so here we are, the query is select salary. Salary is a column name. Salary from EMP2 @ MSC link. Now MSC link is the name of the link which is created on the created database, that is on the MSCDB, that is default database. So EMP2 @ MSC link, where E number is equal to 009. Now here you can give any employee number, whichever you know previously. Okay, the known number you can give. Then the query output is 9,000. Okay, so the salary of that 009 will be, should come as in output. So yes, salary is equal to 9,000. So output has come. Now next is find the email where the employee name is known. So we have to, that is from the default database. Okay, now here find the email where the employee name is known. Now, can you tell me what we are supposed to do it with this, or how we can do it? Actually, it is given in the query itself. Just read the query properly. See here, they have created the references, and why they have creating references, that you have already done at UG level. So I'm assuming that you know what is that referencing, why they created. Yes. Can anyone tell what they have done it over here? They want to find the email where employee name is known. If you can see, they have created E2 and E1, 2 references. Okay, so E2, where they are referring the emp2 underscore MSC link. Now what is emp2 underscore MSC link? This is the second copy that is on the created database which we have created, and E1 is a reference which they have created on the local, that is the emp1 table. Fine, that is on the default table. So two references they have created, E1 and E2. Now E2, the email attribute, you will find it where, in which table? Email attribute, it is there in the emp2 copy @MSC link. In that fragments, you will find the email attribute. So to get that attribute, they have written select space e2.email. That means email column from the emp2 database, from emp2 @MSC link space e2, where they are checking e2.e number. That means employee number from employee 2 table, that is from the MSC link, is equal to, here they are comparing, is equal to, they are selecting the, or they are retrieving the e-name from the emp1 table. Why? Because emp2 doesn't contain the employee name, it only has the employee number. And employee name is in which fragment? Employee name is in the emp1 fragment. So to retrieve the employee name, or to get the employee name from the another fragment, they are created the references, and that's what those references here they are matching. So e2.e number is equal to, in the bracket they have written the select e1.e number from emp1 space e1. So E1 is reference for emp1, where e1.ename is equal to Ritesh. Understood? So this is the subquery which they have written it. As the question, the question demands the find the email where employee name is known. Fine. So we want email also and a name also, employee. But those two attributes are located in two different fragments. So to get the data from the two fragments, we need to write down the subquery. Understood? So here is the output of Ritesh, the email ID of Ritesh, riit@yahoo.com. Understood? See if you can see the copy here. emp1, select star from emp1 has e number, that is employee number, e name and address. And employee 2 here you can see has e number, that is employee number, email and salary. So what they have done, they have retrieved this email from the emp2, and to retrieve the, or to get the name of that particular employee as Ritesh, what they have done, they have matched these two table, connected these two to compare these two tables using employee number, as employee number is the common factor between two tables. Okay, so e2.e number is equal to e1.e number, and e name they have retrieved from the employee 1. That's why the subquery is written. Fine. Now same for created database. Okay, if you can see, they have written the same query. The user has written the same query, select e2.email from emp2 space e2, where e2.e number is equal to select e1.e number from, now here employee 1 @default link space e1, where e1.ename is equal to Ritesh. Now from created, as this where they are firing it from the created database, that's why they are referring the emp1 copy on the default link. Okay, and employee 2 on the created database. The query will remain same. Only you can see the copy of the database which they are referring. One is from the default database, one is from the created database. But at the end, we are getting the answer that is same. So the user whoever is giving a request, his least bother what is happening inside or how that query is getting processed, as long as he is getting the correct answer or correct results from the database. That is the transparency basically. So user is unaware of the internal processing of the system as he is getting the result properly. So if you can see the results, both are giving the same results and the correct results. But one query is operating on the one created database and the another same query is operating on the default database. The next operation, the same thing, find the employee name and email where employee number is known. So again, this query we have to run on the default database and then created database. So select e1.ename. Now here it is reverse. In the previous example, we had to we know the employee name and we have to retrieve the employee number. Now here we know the employee number and we have to retrieve or find out the employee name. So select e1.ename, e2.email from emp2 @msclink space e2, emp1 space e1, where e2.enumber is equal to e1.enumber and e1.enumber is equal to 005. So here they are checking, they are retrieving name and email from two copies from E1 and E2. Okay, where both should match with the same employee number, and that employee number it is getting from the E1 copy, that is from the EMP1. So the answer is Sachin and Sachin@yahoo.com. Now the same query is executed on the created database. Only you will see the database name is different. Okay, now here you have emp2 space e2 comma emp1 @default link. So now here it is operating on the default link E1, where e2.enumber is equal to e1.enumber and e2.enumber is equal to 005. So the output you can see it is getting the same output and the correct one. But the two queries are operating on the two core databases or the fragments. The next operation, find the employee name whose salary is greater than 2000. Now here we have to find out the employee name whose salary is greater than 2000. Again, if you see the salary attribute is in E2, that is in one fragment, and ename attribute is in another fragment. Fine. So now again they have created the referencing. Select e1.ename and e2.salary from emp2 @msclink e2 and emp1 e1, where and they are matching this with the employee number. So e2.employee number and should be matched with the employee number from the E1. And another condition, the salary of that employee should be greater than 2000. So these two conditions it should satisfy. Okay, one is it should match with the employee number, and the another one is salary should be greater than 2000. So you will see the output. it will retrieve the e-names and the salary details of the employee whose salary is greater than 2000. So the same query only with the different database copies, sorry, the fragments they have executed on the created database. Select e1.ename, e2.salary from emp2 now here, e2, emp. Now here, first emp actually had earlier it was given, but this here it is emp1 dollar. If the at the rate is not working, then try it with the dollar. Okay. emp1 @default link e1, where employee number from e2 should match with employee number from e1 and salary is greater than 2000. So same query, same results they are getting. So this is with the vertical fragmentation. What we have done, we created one copy of a table employee. Then we created the link using create link tag. One is on the default link and the another one is on the created database. So two links we have created and we executed some of the queries on both the copies, on both the fragments. Okay, where we retrieve the data from both the fragments. And then we had seen how the output is giving both the all the queries are giving the same output and the corrected one on both the fragments. Fine. So this is the vertical fragmentation. You can try out at your end. Install the Oracle. Now the horizontal fragmentation. Any doubt you can ask. So the same thing, now we are going to create the horizontal fragmentation. Okay. Now for the horizontal fragmentation, what is horizontal fragmentation? Anyone can tell what is horizontal fragmentation? Yes.
Row-wise.
Yes. You can speak.
Splitting tables horizontally.
Yes, splitting tables horizontally. For example, what are the rules you can say or the things to keep it in mind while splitting up the table horizontally? Yes, Zifin. Which are the 2 points you need to keep it in mind while creating the horizontal fragments? One, your condition, because as you know here we are splitting up the table horizontally. So the condition which you will give, it should be correct or the proper one. And the second thing, that fragment, each fragment should contain all the columns from that table. Remember, in horizontal fragmentation. So these things you should follow. So here we are creating the horizontal fragmentation. So create table emp11 as select star. That's why they always give the star, because each fragment should contain all the columns. Select star from employee where salary is less than or equal to 10,000. Okay. So here the condition is salary. So based on that condition, it is going to divide the records or the table. So here salary should be less than or equal to 10,000. And star means it is taking all the columns. Okay. So both the things are proper. So table created. So in employee level. So just to check, select star from EMP 11. Yes, the table, the fragment is giving the proper output. All the entries are less than or equal to 10,000 salary employees, and plus they are containing all the columns from the table. Okay. Now the same thing for on created database. So create table EMP22 as select star from EMP@default link. Okay, this is the what we are doing. We are creating the table on the default link on the created database where salary is greater than 10,000. Now in this EMP22, the salary should be greater than 10,000. So all those employee details will come under this fragment. So just to check, we have again executed select star from employee EMP22. Yes, it is containing all the employees who's having the salary greater than 10,000 and contains all the columns. So this way the horizontal fragmentation is done on default and on created, both the databases. One is less than having the salary less than 10,000 and the another one is greater than 10,000. So the table is divided horizontally. Now some of these queries which you have to execute on that fragment. Find the salary of all the employees. Now here they want to find out the salary of all the employees. So what they have done, they have created the, if you can see, they have used the union all operator. Why? Because the salary of all the employees, it is on the because the salary less than 10,000 is in one fragment and greater than 10,000 another fragment. So they are just combining that all the records into one. So select salary from employee EMP22 @MSC link union all, select salary from EMP11. So they are just combining the records from two fragments and showing the result. So again we got the 10 values. Okay. Now the same thing they are doing it on created database. So only the EMP22 will come first and EMP11 copy will go at the later part. So select salary from EMP22 union all, remember union all operator. Select salary from EMP11 @default link. Okay. So from two fragments, horizontal fragments, they are combining the data and viewing the result. If you can see, both are giving the same output and the corrected one. The next query is find the email of all employees. Find the email of all employees whose salary is greater than 15,000. Now here they are they are operating first on the default database. So select email from EMP22 @MSC link union all, select email from EMP11. But which condition should satisfy? The salary should be greater than 15,000. So it will select this email from both the tables for them whose salary is greater than 15,000. Okay. So the result is Yatin, Deep, Samir, Sachin and Vicky. So those emails have been retrieved. Select email from EMP22 @MSC link and select email from EMP11. From both the copies, it is combining the values which satisfies the condition salary is greater than 15,000. This is on the default database. Now on the created database, only there will be a swap of. Now you will see select email from EMP22, union all, select email from EMP11 at the rate default link where salary is greater than 15,000. Fine. This is on the created database they executed and the same output here you get. And the third operation is the query find the employee name and email where employee number is known. So name and email where employee number is known. So here first on the default database they executed select ename comma email, two things you want from EMP11 where employee number is equal to 007. Here they have used the again the union all operator. So union all, select again the ename and email from employee to EMP22 at the rate MSC link where employee number is equal to 007. So again they are combining the result of two queries using union all operator. So basically they are retrieving the employee name and email whose employee number is 007. This is on the default database. Now on the created database, select ename email from employee EMP22 where e number is equal to 007. Same query, only now here on the created database. That means EMP11 at the rate default link. Here the table is you have to refer. And this query will give you the output, ename and email. The same output you will get it. So this way you can execute the query from the default database and the created database. Now this one, find the employee name and address where employee number is known. Here we have to find the employee name and address where the employee number is known. Now it is same only instead of email you will write down the address basically. So select ename comma address from EMP11 where e number is equal to 009, union all, select ename comma address from EMP22 at the rate MSC link where employee number is equal to 009. So you get the output, ename Rajesh and address is Borivali. This is on the default database. It is same as the previous one, only the change instead of email, you here they want the address. Then same query on the created database, select ename address from EMP22 where e number is equal to 009, space union all, select ename comma address from EMP11 at the rate default link where e number is equal to 009. So here you get the same output. So fine. In this, we have what we have done. We divided the table horizontally, or we created the horizontal fragmentation based on the condition of salary. One fragment contains the details of employee whose salary is less than 10,000, less than or equal to 10,000, and in the another fragments, this contains the details of the employee whose salary is greater than 10,000. And then we had seen how the queries are operated and how the data is retrieved from both the fragments and the results are displayed. Any doubt you can ask? Okay, fine. Then we'll move on to the next topic. This is about the fragmentation practicals. Okay, I'll share this file with you so you can try out. I will move on to the next topic. So, last topic in theory which we had discussed, it was hybrid fragmentation. The fragmentation was the last topic which we discussed. Now we are starting with the distributed database management system transparency. Just now, while discussing this practical, I was referring to you to the transparency. So that's this transparency. Transparency, distribution transparency is the property with which the internal details of the distributions are hidden from the users. So as I said, when I'm giving a request, as a user, when I'm giving a request, I don't know what is happening inside. Okay, how that query is getting processed and how that query processing, query optimization is happening as we are dealing or as we are running the query into distributed database management system. There are different hierarchies which are created. The database is distributed, spread over across the network in a different forms. Okay, so with that complexity, as a user, I'm aware of it. What I have done, I have just fired a query. So after firing a query, I'm getting the result. Okay, the proper whatever the result I'm getting. So I'm happy. So I don't know what is the internal thing or the complexity. For me, whether the data is coming from the local side or whether the data is coming from the global side, that part is not known to me as a user. Fine. So this is the called as the this property is called as the transparency, by which the internal details of the distributions are hidden from the users. The user will feel as if the data has come from the local site only, although you don't know the way data has come from the remote machine or from the remote site or from the global side. So basically, this the complexity of this structure is unknown to the user. Since users are unaware of these details, they find the distributed database easy to use like any centralized database. As a user, I will feel that there is only one database and I'm accessing through the same. Okay. So there are basically three types of distribution transparencies are there: location transparency, fragmentation transparency, and replication transparency. Location, that means transparency means complexities which are related with the location, then complexity which are related with the fragmentation, and transparency complexities which are related with the replications are unknown to the user or not known. Okay. So the first one is the location transparency. Now location transparency means the users can query on any tables or any fragments of a table as if they were stored locally in the user sites. So while accessing the data, I'm getting the response so quickly or efficiently that I'm thinking that I'm accessing the data locally. But the fact that the table or its fragments might have stored on the remote side in the distributed database system, we don't know where that database is actually located. Okay. So the address of the remote sites and the access mechanisms are completely hidden from the user. That is called as a location transparency. So in order to incorporate location transparency, distribution database management system should have access to updated and accurate data dictionary, and distributed database management system directory, which contains the details of location of data. So to perform this transaction smoothly, in order to incorporate the location transparency, we should have the updated data or the updated information about the location of data in the directory, in the database dictionary basically, so that while query processing, the correct data will go to the correct user or to the correct node. So this is the requirement from the location transparency side. Now we'll just see one more example. There is one book where they have given one example. We will just go through it. Location transparency. See, in this location transparency, here they have discussed one example related with the location transparency. In this, this company maintains the warehouses. There is one company which maintains the warehouses and associated purchasing functions in San Mateo, California, Tulsa, Oklahoma, and New York City. Okay, basically, the warehouses and the purchasing functions are located in different areas. Fine. Now, the company's engineering offices are in San Mateo and its sales office are in New York City. Okay, so the company's engineering offices, remember, in San Mateo and sales office are in New York City. Suppose that a marketing manager in San Mateo, California wanted a list of all company customers. What he wants, he wanted a list of all company customers whose total purchases exceed $1 lakh, okay, or $1 lakh rupees. So this is the basically the query that they want to retrieve the total purchases or the customers whose total purchases are exceeding this amount. Okay, so the details they want. So from a terminal in San Mateo with location transparency, the managers could enter the following request. So what they have requested, so the query is supposed to be select star from customer where total sales is less than 1 lakh. Now, this query or whatever the SQL request, it does not require the user to know where the data are physically located or where the data is actually stored. Fine. The distributed database management system at the local site, that is at San Mateo, will consult based to the actual, which will consult the distributed and determine that this request must be routed to the New York. When the selected data are transmitted and displayed in San Mateo, it appears to the user at that site that the data were retrieved locally. So in this scenario, what they have told, the data is actually located at New York, but the request, the user is passing it through the San Mateo. So it is passing the request, but internally that particular request has been routed through the New York City, and from then from there the response has come, but the user is unaware of this all complexities, that from where the actual data has come or from where the actual result has come. So that is the location transparency. Similarly, they have again the complex example they have discussed. You can just read it later for your knowledge. The next type of transparency is fragmentation transparency. Now, fragmentation transparency is, it will, the user will query, it will request the data, but it is actually unaware of from where the result has come, from which particular fragment. Okay, that is the fragmentation transparency, which enables the users to query upon any table as if it were unfragmented. So that transaction should happen so efficiently that the user will not even think of, okay, this data has come from 2-3 fragments. He will think that it is coming from only a single table. Like just now we had seen during practical, we were discussing, we actually retrieve the data from 2 different fragments on the local, on the created database and the default database. So we were getting the same output, okay, and the correct one. So that is the fragmentation transparency. The user is unaware, or user is thinking that the data which is coming, it is from the single table, although the data is been distributed and it is coming from the different fragments of the tables. So it hides the fact that the table the user is querying on is actually a fragment or union of some fragments. This is somewhat similar to SQL views, where the user may not know that they are using a view of a table instead of the table itself. Now all of you know what is SQL view, isn't it? What is view in SQL? What we do? Yes, this is from the UG level. Views. What is SQL views? Hello? Can anyone tell what is view? At UG level you have
Replica
done.
of a table
Sorry.
or
Sorry?
database. Replica of a table.
Yes, it is basically a copy of a table, but not the exact view. What we do, we create it as per the business needs, where we don't want the entire table to be used or to be unaffected. You can say unaffected. So what we do, whatever is needed for that particular problem or for that particular requirement, you can say, we only select those many columns from that table and we just separate it, or we create the view of it. Let's say the employee table having, let's say, 10 attributes. But from that 10 attributes, for the as per the requirement, I want only 5 attributes. So what I'll do, I'll create a view of only of that 5 attributes. And then whatever, it is like basically a copy, but not the exact, or it will not contain, may not contain the entire thing. You can create of the entire if it is needed. This is one is to avoid or to reduce the processing time, and the another one is if you don't want the original data to be get affected. Okay, so then at that such scenario, what you can do, you create a view of that table, and whatever thing operations you want to perform, you can perform it on the view. Fine. So basically the fragmentation transparency is just like a SQL views. It is basically the copies where the user may not know that they are not using the actual table, but whatever the query is happening, it is happening on the copy of that table. That is the fragmentation transparency. Now again here they have discussed one examples related with it. Here they have created the view of all part. You can see here, create, then view name. It is just like you are creating a table only, but as using as keyword you created. Create view, view name, all parts, as, and then pass the query of which columns you want to select under that particular view. So select part number, comma, part name from San Mateo part table, union, select part number, part name from Tulsa. So basically it is retrieving these values from the different branches or from the different locations and combining it and creating one view of it at global level, saying all part. Okay, so whatever operations will happen, they will happen on that particular view. So this is the fragmentation transparency. Then replication transparency. Now replication transparency means the details of the replication, how the database is divided, or the copies, how many copies are made, about all those things the user is unaware. The details are hidden from the users. After executing a query, the user will feel as if the request response has come from a single copy of the table. So it is unaware of, he's unaware of about those n number of copies which we have, which internally are replicated. Okay, so that is the replication transparency. But with the replication transparency, there is one more transparency which is associated, that is concurrency transparency. Now, and the failure transparency. Now, concurrency transparency means if you are updating, as you know, that replication means we prepare the copies of the databases. So if updation is happening in one copy, or in one replica, the same updation should happen throughout all the copies. Okay, so the update is reflected in all the copies of the table. However, this operation should not be known to the user. This is called as a concurrency transparency. Understood? So if you are updating the one copy of the table, that updation should happen with all the copies, and all about all these things, how the user will not be aware of it unless and until he is not getting any wrong results. Okay, see, as long as user is getting the correct output, proper output in a faster way, he is least bothered. Okay, but if he finds that there is some mistake or there is some flaws in your data, then there is a failure on the this business side. Okay, so when this can happen, when there can be a possibility of getting the wrong data or the wrong details. Yes, can you tell regarding updation? When is the possibility that the user will see the wrong data? Yes. So let's suppose if the updation is happening on a single one copy and it is in the process, and suppose let's say the one copy it is happening, and with the other copy that processing is being done, and meanwhile if some failure happens and the user is processing the query or the result request, at the same time it is that accessing the data which is not updated. It is getting the data from the copies which is not updated. So at that time there is a failure, that the concurrency, I mean the user feel that no, there is some mistake or there is some internally wrong which is happening. Okay, so if everything is proper, then the concurrency transparency is proper, then there will be no issue with the from the user side. Okay. So that is basically the updation of the data item, and the updated whatever the value or the updation is reflected in all the copies of the table. This is the concurrency transparency. And the failure transparency is basically if one node fails or one copy fails or on the network, still the request from the user should be processed by the other node. That is called as the failure transparency. But regarding this failure, the user should not be aware of it. As long as I said, when the user will come to know when he will get the some error or any wrong data. As long as he is getting the proper output, he is least bother what is happening. In case of failure of a site, the user can still proceed with his queries using replicated copies without any knowledge of failure. Copy also, they have discussed about the failure transparency. So each site in a distributed system is subject to the same type of failure as in centralized system. However, there is an additional risk of failure of a communication link. Okay, so now if you see in the distributed database management system, at every node you will have the transaction manager. One component you will find at each site, that is the transaction manager. Transaction manager, it is a software module which maintains the log of all the transactions and an appropriate concurrency control scheme. Now the next thing is database control. Okay. See now, database control is basically, this is one of the, again, the important aspect of distributed database management system. We have spread across the copies of the table, or we have spread across the databases. Now we want those databases. I mean, till now we came to know how the databases can be divided in a different ways, and how the difficulties and challenges can be overcome. Okay, for the distribution. Now the next thing is these after distributing the database across the network, now how to handle this database, how to handle these communication channels, that is the database control. Okay, so this is the second most important aspect of the distributed database management system. So database control refers to the task of enforcing regulations so as to provide correct data to the authentic users and application of a database. So in order to that correct data is available to users, all data should be conformed to the integrity constraints defined in the database. Besides, data should be screened away from unauthorized users so as to maintain the security and privacy of the database. So database control is one of the primary tasks of the database administrator in the distributed database management system environment. Fine. So as I said, after the data is distributed, there are three dimensions: access, authentication, then access rights, and the integrity constraint. Okay. So these are the 3 dimensions using which we can ensure the database control, efficient database control over the distributed database management system. Okay. So the first one is the authentication. Authentication means what? The authorized user should get access with the database. So how we can authorize or how we can authenticate the users, which we can authenticate? Yes. Generally, how you authenticate the user? A simple way of user authentication. Yes. This is a question. Yes, password and UID. That is username and password. This is the way, one way of getting the users. Correct. Now, how will because I'm sharing the window, I don't come to know that I'm getting lost. Okay. So authentication can be enforced in 2 levels. Controlling access to client computer and controlling access to the database software. Okay. Now controlling access to the computer, where user access is restricted while logging into the client computer, which provides the user interface to the database server. So the most common method, as you have said, it's a username and password. Okay. So using the username and password combination, we can get the user controlling the access to the client computer. And you know, if you want to go at the further level, more sophisticated method, like hello, I think it is not happening. That network, some problem, some issue is there. I'm so sorry. I think there is a lot of network issue. So it is not allowing me to do. So what we'll do, one sec. Now it is proper.
Kind of.
Okay.
Oh, ma'am, I can't hear you properly.
Oh, okay, fine. So what we'll do, we'll stop for today. Anyways, it is only 1 second.